Good morning. I just looked at my watch and go, oh gosh, it's time to go do this. So here we are. Welcome to Employer Partners Day, offered here from the Business Career Center. So we're going to spend some time talking about getting to know our staff, a little bit about the Business Career Center, about some research that we participated in this year. So glad to have you learn, but also feel free to ask questions of us along the way. Just for a little bit of logistics, restrooms are off to my right and my left. There's water and coffee in the back. We want you to feel well cared for today. Because we're doing research things, I had a lot of notes here, so you'll see me kind of flipping through papers here. But to look first of all at our agenda, hopefully you picked that up when you came on in, so I'll spend a little bit of time starting this morning. And then we're going to bring in a panel of 4 of our College of Business students. We'll ask them some questions, but also a chance for you to ask them some questions. Then we're going to do some breakout sessions. One of the sessions is just a little bit of research and best practices related to internships. And then the other session is a chance for us to learn from you. We want to make sure that our curriculum does a good job of reflecting current trends from recruiting. And so a little bit of hearing from each other, but really hearing from you to help us guide our curriculum. Then we'll come back here for lunch, and our dean will join us to give some updates about what's happening in the College of Business, and then we'll present our College of Business awards. After that, we'll do some other breakout sessions. So one of those is networking with our enrollment management team. So our enrollment management team are here to help recruit students to the College of Business, a chance for you to learn what's happening in admission, but also what's happening specifically with some pre-college programs. The other breakout session is a facilitated recruiter session, and you might go, okay, well, what's that different when you've already heard from us earlier in the morning? Now, this one is a chance for you to talk to each other. We've heard in the past people saying, I just would really like to know what others are doing, what's working. So we'll be there to kind of help facilitate that discussion to make sure that you have a chance to ask questions of each other. After that, our final set of breakout session, we're bringing in somebody from University Career Services to give some tips about Handshake. Handshake is our job search, our job posting platform, so she'll be able to give some tips about that. Or you're welcome to have a guided Hawks Hall tour. This building opened, it'll be 6 years ago in August, and so we're really still proud of this building. For a long time, we were able to say we were the newest building on campus. We're not quite, but we're still probably the best building on campus. I have to say I haven't been in the newest building, so as long as I haven't been there, I can continue to say this is the best building. So, a few things. At your table is an interest and survey form. This is optional, but it does help us get a sense of what you're experiencing. So there's kind of 3 parts on this, just your thoughts of employment trends. Again, in our desire to make sure we're giving accurate information to students, we have just a few questions there. Along the way, you might hear about involvement opportunities, and if you're like, wait, I'm not sure I'm getting emails about this, make sure to check mark that, yep, add me to that list, so that way you get invited to things. And then throughout the day, you might have just some questions. They're like, I really want to talk to the Business Career Center more about this. So jot those questions down, and we'll be glad to follow up with you. The only caveat is if you want to be invited to something or you want us to follow up, make sure you add your name and organization, so that way we know who to follow up with. So I think that kind of concludes housekeeping. So the Business Career Center was started a little over 12 years ago, and our guiding philosophy has remained the same in that we want to help our students develop into confident, professional, and connected professionals. And that really means that we need you. You are here to help us give opportunities for students to increase their confidence, to help them learn about being a professional, and then obviously to make those connections. So that's been important throughout all of this. The other part is that idea of being a national leader. Some of the things that we do here at the College of Business are not happening elsewhere at UNL, are not happening elsewhere at other colleges and universities. So we're proud to have people call us to say, how are you doing those things? And again, our connections with you are what helps us achieve that national leader. A couple of things of highlighting. When I emailed you kind of the details about today, I included our annual report, so I hope you had a chance to take a look at that. I'm really hitting the highlights of this year. One of the highlights is launching a career resources section on our website. We've had a lot of those resources in our curriculum, but we wanted to have it just available for students at the point when they aren't taking one of our classes. So you are free to take a look at that. One of the things I know we're all pretty proud of and we spend a lot of time on are our industry keyword sheets, where we're trying to help students think of stronger ways of describing their experience, more applicable to the industry that they're in. So a stronger word than I did something. So trying to make that strong. The other piece of information that was emailed out, but is also in the print packet you have today, is our Employer Partners Guide. So that gives more details about the programs here in the College of Business. It also includes a calendar of events and to kind of help your planning. There's a list of registered students or recognized student organizations. There is some information about our graduate programs, so lots of good stuff there. So sometimes I know I'm guilty of, I get a packet at an event and then I take the packet home and then I'm like, I don't know what was going on. It's because I never opened the packet. So take a look at the packet, good stuff for you. So I'd like to introduce our staff. Again, my name is Timm. I'm the director of our Business Career Center. The Business Career Center was started by two professionals, Rachel Larson and Janine Burge. Rachel is now our assistant dean, leading not only the Business Career Center, but enrollment management and our academic advising offices. Janine went on to the University of Tennessee, and we now are a staff of 8 people. So I'll have the rest of our team kind of come up and introduce themselves, starting with Paula.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Paula Caldwell, and I serve as the Associate Director for Career and Professional Development in the College of Business Career Center. In that role, I oversee the student side of the house. So that would be all of our career curriculum, as well as our internship course, and then the student coaching that comes through our office. So I'm really excited to lead and help Chris lead this team of talented individuals.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kadina Kuntz. I lead the 222 course, which is Career Development and Planning. In that role, that is our sophomore level course where students learn to develop their first resume. Some of you have seen them at networking events already. They kind of get across how to connect with professionals and really market their first brand of themselves. I'm originally from Monterey, California, so if there's any out-of-state people here, whoop whoop.
Good morning. My name is Megan Patel. I'm the Assistant Director of Internship and Job Search Strategies. That's our junior level course. So building off of 222, continuing with resume strategies, looking at cover letters, job searching, interviewing skills, which I know a lot of you help with our practice interviews for that course, so thank you for that. So that's our junior level course.
Good morning. My name is Mickey Sandin, and I am the Assistant Director of our 444 course, which is Professional Life Skills, really transitioning our college seniors into that next step, their careers, graduate school, whatever comes next. And I also have the pleasure of helping organize the Employer in Residence booth, so many of you come to that, appreciate it, love working with all of our employers. So I am a native Nebraskan, grew up in 2 very small towns here, Shelton and Oshkosh. Anybody heard of those? Yay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Lynn Horst. I am the senior career coach. I started in this position way back on May 1st, so relatively new to the team, but I also help coordinate 222 with Kadena and focus on all of those career coaching aspects of meeting with the students and helping them get to you all, hopefully. I'm also a native Nebraskan from North Platte originally, and then did my master's out in Seattle and moved back to Nebraska because it's just, there's something about this state.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bethany Myers, and I'm a career coach here in the Business Career Center. I also just started on May 15th after finishing my master's here at the University in Higher Ed. And then I focus mainly on career coaching our students, but then also working with Megan on our 333 curriculum.
Well, thank you all. Appreciate that. And just appreciate having a great team. You'll get to meet them in the breakout sessions. They also will be joining us at lunch, so chance to catch any of them. In addition to our full-time staff, we have 12 peer career coaches and a graduate student that help us with our curriculum. So we're going to kind of transition from who we are to some things that we did this year. Mary Scott leads this group called the Scott Resource Group, and she's known as a national presenter on research of student preferences in the job search. And so we've had the chance to hear her at conferences, but we actually were one of about a dozen schools that said survey our students as well. So we have a chance to hear a little bit about what she learned. So she really focused on 3 areas: the job search, on interviewing, and then on offers. So we just found a lot of this really fascinating and hope you do as well. So in the job search, what we're hearing is that students want direct contact from employers. A big word that came out was authentic. So students are saying they want personal, genuine connection and that they're turned off by mass emails, texts, mail merges, kind of that unsolicited contact. And maybe that's a side effect of COVID, that they are feeling like, that they had everything virtual and now they want that direct contact, but that just kept coming up repeatedly. So that really provides some compelling evidence that as you think about your communication, looking at what strategies or tactics you could use to offer something genuine. Whether that be being in person at career fairs. Students said they really liked hearing from interns or recent hires, that thinking about who you're involving in those events to be that personal direct contact. Students also said that they don't find as much value in those third-party portals or social media. I think a few years ago when everyone was like, oh gosh, we have to have an Instagram to recruit people, students aren't necessarily looking at that as much about the organization. So they are again looking for those genuine contacts. So LinkedIn and your website were really valued, along with the Career Center job posting sites like Handshake. Commercial job boards kind of fell into the middle. One of the things that scared us a little bit is over half of the students surveyed said that they were blocking job-related communications from the university and also commercial job portals. Now, interestingly, then that same group of students probably says, well, I don't know what's going on. Well, probably it's because you're blocking some of those communications, but they just, again, are feeling that they don't want to be mass emailed to. So they said that they would accept targeted emails rather than unsolicited. And then the last kind of piece of the job search that we thought was interesting is that they're not applying on their phones. So again, a lot of websites have the, click here, easy apply, but only 10% that said apply by phone was their preference. So that they're actually going to their computers to apply for opportunities. So that was a little bit about the job search. Mary Scott's research also talked about interviews, and they believed that career centers should dedicate space for virtual interviews. They wanted to have a professional place for virtual interviews. And I know one of the students that received an offer earlier this year came in specially to say this was really a game changer, that they just didn't feel like their home was professional. They weren't sure about internet being secure and safe, so they appreciated being able to having a virtual interview in our space. The employers also said that interviewing on campus telegraphs stronger interest in my school. So again, like the convenience of a virtual interview, that maybe your 8 o'clock is somebody from Nebraska and your 8:45 is somebody from some lesser school out there. But that the student thought, if you're actually coming to my campus, it says you're specifically interested in UNL students. And then we're hearing this again and again, that students are preferring in-person interviews, even if it's over Zoom, instead of the pre-recorded interviews, the pre-recorded video interviews. Now, we give students experience with those pre-recorded interviews in our BSAD 333 class, but they're wanting to have, again, that authentic connection. Then the last piece of Mary Scott's research was looking at offers. And students said that they consider that their process of being recruited says something about what it's like to work there. So again, said 90% of the students said how the employers treat me tells me what it's like to work there. And almost 2/3 said they were more likely to decline or renege on an offer if they didn't feel like they had a genuine connection. So if they felt like they were being, again, kind of mass emailed, they have less connection. If they felt like somebody didn't get back to them quickly or didn't give them the information that they needed, that they might be more likely to turn down that offer. Interestingly, those students who accepted an offer felt like they had enough time to decide and enough information about the offer, which that is great because that number was a lot lower in 2016. But of those who declined an offer, most felt like they had enough information, but 56% didn't feel like they had enough time to decide, so they felt rushed in making that decision. Now, we worry about students saying yes to an offer and then changing their mind. That's not ideal for you. That's not ideal for the student. So in this survey, only 20% had actually reneged on an offer, which is actually less than in prior years. Again, remember that this isn't only UNL students, it's students from across a wide range of institutions. But what scares us a little bit is 45% said they were still continuing to consider other opportunities. So they've accepted a job, they're feeling happy about that job, but they're still keeping their eyes open for other opportunities. 77% said if they were pressured to accept an offer before they were ready, they thought it would be fair to renege. So interesting research. So what do we do with that information? So some of our recommendations would be, if you're going to email students or communicate with them, to customize the email. Something that says, I actually knew you, that you were from North Platte. We're excited about you joining us. To make that email meaningful, specifying kind of next steps in the application process or what's going to happen, so it's not just, again, a generic email, but they felt like there's some action that I need to do. And that kind of comes with that authentic word. The other word that kept coming up in Mary Scott's research was respect. And so to respect students' time by making sure that the communication that they're getting was meaningful. Again, we recognize kind of that difference that the students, want you to respond to them right away. They want to have authentic communication, but then they're not always great about responding back. So we work on that, but we know that's a reality. With interviews, think about conducting on-campus interviews. In the Business Career Center, we have 6 interview rooms available on a first-come, first-served basis. You can sign up for that via Handshake. And I just realized I forgot to introduce Roxanne of our staff. Roxanne, kind of waving her hand back there, Roxanne kind of keeps us in line and manages many of the functions in our office, but Roxanne would be your contact for scheduling the on-campus interviews. So think about doing that, or if you are doing video interviews, suggest to the students that they look for a study room on campus, a study room here in the College of Business, or even using one of the rooms in the Business Career Center to give them a better space to have that virtual interview. And then I think just evaluating the use of those pre-recorded video interviews. Maybe it takes a little bit of explaining why you're doing that, or helping students understand that this gets you to the next spot where you would have a more in-person experience. So lots of good stuff from Mary Scott. The other part was the job and internship offers. And so even though national research shows this renege rates, we felt that the research shows that some of that happens if students are pressured to accept an offer. Overall, the more transparent you can be, the less likely you're going to have a renege. So part of that is looking at the fit. So somebody has a sense of how they're going to fit into the organization. So pay was important to students, but knowing how they were going to fit into the organization and why it mattered that they were there made pay a little less important. So being transparent about the compensation, the expectations about whether you are in person, whether you are working remote. If you are working remote, transparent about how you're going to connect to the rest of the organization and make a bit difference. The other part of salary that's interesting is our national association, NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, has recently released an advocacy statement calling for all internships to be paid. And there's a lot of different research around that. We'll talk a little bit about that in our internship session. But just saying from an equity standpoint, that's part of it, from a safety standpoint for students. But I think it's going to be interesting, and I think it's things you're going to see in the news too about that if we value students and we value the work that they do, should they be paid? I think the interesting part is you think as that goes broader into like medical clinicals and student teaching and all of these other areas where students are doing real work but might not be compensated. Another part of the recommendations, just building excitement about your location. Again, some students are interested in a hybrid, so what's the value of coming to your organization? One thing we heard this last year from students is that they liked their internship, but their manager was working nearly 100% remote, and so they didn't feel like they had that connection with their manager or with their team. So like, what's the value of coming to your organization, city-wise, connecting with your organization? And then finally, a recommendation is our university job offer guidelines. We developed these 6 years ago. We were actually one of the last in the Big Ten to have university job offer guidelines. More details are in your packet, but overall, we want students to have enough time to evaluate their options, to go to career fairs, to talk to employers. So our guidelines suggest that the offer should remain open in the fall, a minimum of 3 weeks until November 1st, whichever comes later, and the spring that they should have at least 2 weeks to decide. Now, in our BSAD 333 class, we tell students about job offer guidelines, but we also encourage them, if you know you want to take this opportunity, accept the job. You don't have to wait. And so, you know, there's a lot of students that'll say, this is exactly what I want to do. Then I'm like, well, go accept it. You're ready. You're ready to go. All right, so that was a lot of research. We'll make sure that there's still some time for questions at the end. So let's kind of think a little bit more about your experience here at UNL. So one thing I just wanted to share is about job and internship postings. Starting with the applicant in mind, some job postings have this long paragraph about what a great organization you are, and I want them to know that about you. But the student that's kind of quickly skimming opportunities is asking themselves, is this something that I want to do? So you might think about how can you start with what the student would do, what you're looking for first, and then later talk about your organization. Again, this national conversation about compensation and work location, spell it out in the job posting, you know, whether it's that it might be that this is an in-person experience with opportunity to work hybrid after training, spell that out. And interestingly about compensation, and I hadn't really thought about this till I talked to a student about it, if it is an internship, feel free to post that as a hourly rate, but for a full-time job, consider posting that as an annual rate. Now I know Handshake is going to ask for an hourly rate, but just help it. Like there was a student who said, well, I don't want this position. I think it paid $22 an hour because I want to make more than $40,000. Well, $22 an hour is more than $40,000, but I think in just their mind, just were overwhelmed and they couldn't figure out what that looked like. So think about that. Another trend that we're seeing in job postings is that they'll say something like high school diploma or equivalent required, associates or bachelor's preferred. And I know in this last year from my career coaching, I've had at least 3 students say, I'm not even going to apply for this. I said, well, it seems perfect. And they said, I didn't spend all of this time going to school for a job that I could have gotten right out of high school. So I think that's something you'll have to look at in your posting, like the difference between what you have in your official HR, here's the posting, versus the marketing tool in Handshake. So even if you say high school degree required, you know, bachelor's degree highly preferred, bachelor's degree, something that tells the college student that this is a job that really the bachelor's degree would help them. And then the last kind of tip, many of you have developed great videos, social media, so forth. On your Handshake profile, you can link to those videos. If you want, you can even add a link to that in your job posting, something to help students get a sense of, again, what it's like to work there. And so you might even kind of spell that out a little bit more about, here's what it's like to work there. So just a couple of tips from things that we're seeing about job and internship postings. Few other things here. The humidity making my papers stick together. The academic calendar. So fall classes begin on August 21st, even if the College of Business is not quite ready for the classes. It's just like the summer blinks and now it's August 1st. We'll be ready. We'll be ready. During COVID, the university started a kind of a winter term or pre-session, and they've continued that. So we'll have this pre-session January 2nd through the 19th. That could be an opportunity for you to connect with students that you're hiring for the summer, or to offer some type of virtual or get to know you program. So I'm just wanting you to know about that time frame. But our spring semester now starts January 22nd and ends on May 17th. So that's a little bit, a week-ish later than pre-COVID times. So just something to be aware of as you're thinking about when you're starting your interns. You know, how much time do you want to give them after the semester ends before they start? Our understanding is that this schedule will continue at least through the 24-25 year, and then university system-wide, they'll look at, was this valuable? Do we keep it up? For the College of Business, we've used this time to teach some classes, kind of some pop-up classes, but also some core classes. We are leading a study abroad to Australia. So we're excited about students getting the chance to do that over the pre-session. Another great resource is Husker Connect. There's more information in your packet as well. Husker Connect was launched a few years ago, It's a product by the People Grove organization, and it's similar to LinkedIn. So it's not a recruiting platform, but rather a platform that students can use to identify people to learn about career areas. So it allows alumni and other professionals to create a profile to say, I'd be willing to talk to people about career transitions or to talk about my geographic area, to talk about a variety of different things. The reason I say it's not a recruiting platform is it's not a place where you as a recruiter can go out and search for people, but the students can go and say, I'd really like to talk to somebody in this field. Communication is handled through Husker Connect, so you're not giving out your personal information through that. Husker Connect, we're really trying to push this a little bit more to get more professionals in there. And that might not be necessarily you, but maybe it's somebody at your organization. You want to have the person that leads your supply chain efforts, or a recent accountant create a profile. In two of our classes, BSAD 222 and BSAD 444, we require an informational interview. And then other times in our career coaching, we say, this is a good resource for you to talk to people in that field. So as we think about the next year, we're also thinking about what can we be adding. We're really kind of digging into that idea of authentic connections. So we're wondering if students would be interested in a job shadow program. What we're kind of thinking of is not groups necessarily, but more like a partial day at your organization. But we're still really in this exploration phase, and so we are hoping to have a few employers and a few students spend some time with us kind of thinking, what would this look like? So if that's something that you would be interested in being in a working group, there's a, that's one of the items on that piece of paper. Or if you're like, I don't want to do a working group, but maybe I would be interested in eventually hosting somebody at our group for a job shadow program, just indicate that as well. So this is still in the idea phase. We just need to figure out what that actually looks like to be meaningful for you, but also meaningful for the students. Couple of other things to mention, international students. So the international student population went down during COVID as people logically went back home. And enrollment levels still have stayed a little low, but they are starting to increase. During the last few years, we've worked out a college business internship course, which makes it very easy for our international students to participate in a paid or unpaid internship with you. So that doesn't require any special immigration paperwork. One of the things we're really excited about, though, is that our actuarial science program and our economics program have been approved as STEM designation. So what that means is that the students could do an internship for multiple years, and then after graduation, work under what's called optional practical training. All students that are eligible for optional practical training can work for a year, but the students with actuarial science or economics will be able to work up to 3 years. So there's more information in your packet about that. But these are just great, talented students that would like to gain some experience. And I know as the college we're looking at some other majors of what we would need to do to get STEM extensions for that. Another idea around case competitions. We've had students do case competitions over the years. Some of those might be that they travel to a particular organization or a national site to participate in a case competition, and others are held here in the College of Business. But we've had some of the organizers of those say, you know, hey, Business Career Center, do you know anybody that might be interested and willing to judge those case competitions? So that might be something of interest to you, or somebody at your organization might be interested. So feel free to note that on that interest form. It might be that you could consider offering a case or offering case content. So these are students solving some type of real-world problem in small groups. Some organizations help fund awards, so that creates the incentive to participate in that. And then we do have students that are traveling to other areas to participate in these case competitions. So some financial support to help equalize the opportunity to participate might be something that you can do. Now, I'll be honest that if you are interested in doing case competitions, that may or may not be something that you're actually invited to do. I just said I would help get a list of possible judges. Glad to chat through that, but there are powers to be other than Business Career Center that are making decisions about case competitions. But it's great to talk to the students when they've done these, that what they've learned in just a short period of time about working with others, looking at real problems and how you'd solve them has been pretty interesting. All right, one more big topic, artificial intelligence. We are keenly aware of artificial intelligence in recruiting. For many years now, we've used a system called Big Interview in our BSAD 333 class. So Big Interview is a video pre-recorded interview, so it gives students that exposure to the tool that you might be using in your recruiting. Students get some feedback about their interview from that. So we've been doing that for many years. We've also experimented with different tools out there around application materials. But like the rest of the world, when ChatGPT came out, we're like, oh gosh, what are we going to do now? In fact, several of us are reading a book called Career Coach ChatGPT, or Career Coach GPT, something like that. Jeremy is the name of the author, Jeremy Schiffling. But we're looking at how do we do this? And I think that the thing that we're hearing from our national association and from our research is people will access this tool. How can we help them access it well? So in our BSAD 222 class, students receive one-on-one resume coaching where they are given some kind of guidelines, some of the resources on our website. But we're looking at how we could use ChatGPT to help with that writer's block. How can we help people get started thinking about what did I learn by running this fireworks stand? And then let's convert that to your own language. In our BSAD 333 class, we work on LinkedIn and we work on cover letters. So looking at how can we help people, again, get past that writer's block, but think about how they're portraying themselves authentically. There's some interesting things in the books and in the resources that we've been watching about using ChatGPT to predict possible interview questions. So looking at, based on this job posting, what might be interview questions that could come up, and helping how could I better describe my ability looking at that. So I think that those are interesting. One of the things that we will be doing too is looking at how we do reflections instead of having a reflection that might be reflecting on an article that they wrote. The reflections or the communication might be more specific examples. So don't just reflect on this, but you're going to have to then talk about how this applies directly to you. In our learning management system, Canvas, there's been for a long time a tool called Turnitin, which will help rate a score of like what percentage of somebody's submission might not be original content. And some of that, it's never going to be 0%, because people will say, to whom it may concern, and so, we've all said that, So, or I'll be graduating from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Yes, we want that in there. But these tools are evolving as well to look at things like ChatGPT. But we'll be really interested in your thoughts about how you will review application materials, how you'll handle somebody interview preparation, maybe if they've used some of that ChatGPT. So again, we're aware of it. We are figuring out, as a Business Career Center, it's been a big topic in our National Association as well. So how am I doing time-wise? I have a few moments here for any questions, whether online or in person. Thanks. Okay, so the question was, were there changes to the job offer guidelines? They're the same job offer guidelines that we've had for 6 years, so no changes there. I think with those job offer guidelines, though, the other thing that we're hearing from employers that have been successful in reducing the renege rate is regular communication and engagement, not only after the offer is extended, but even after they've accepted that, like, oh, and we're looking forward to seeing you in 2 months, you know, and having that authentic communication. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. That's a great question. So the question was kind of explain a little bit about how on-campus interviews work. There's a couple of different models. One is that you can post the position in Handshake and say you want to do on-campus interviews. Students apply through Handshake. They schedule their interview times through Handshake. So Handshake can handle all of that. Within Handshake, there is either an open sign-up saying, I'm willing to talk to anybody who wants to see me this particular day. The other opportunity is called pre-select, which goes back many, many years, which is a horrible term. But pre-select is really that you are pre-selecting the people that you want to interview. So you need a little more lead time for students to apply, you to select, and then the selected students sign up for a time. A third opportunity is you say, I'm going to be on campus this particular day. I've collected resumes at a career fair, you know, all of these different systems. I'm going to contact people and get it all set up, and I'm just going to show up. I mean, you've arranged that you're going to show up, so we know you're coming. But you've arranged your own schedule and you've communicated with the students. So yeah, we're glad to do that, and it's fun for us to get to see you interview too. Thanks for that. Any other questions? Okay. Well, if you have questions, again, feel free to jot those on that sheet that's in front of you. We're now going to take a little bit of a break for you to get some coffee, water, wander around the building a little bit if you like, but we will start again at 9:45 with a student panel. The student panel will be facilitated by Mickey, but a chance for you to ask questions about what our students' experience is. Appreciate you being here. Again, restrooms off to my right and off to my left. Vending machines down below if you're a cold caffeine person, not a coffee caffeine. But thanks so much. We'll see you in a bit.
Well, good morning again. Thanks again for everyone who is here. My name, as I mentioned earlier, is Mickey Sandin. I'm the Assistant Director for Professional Life Skills, and I work with the students as they are transitioning from college into their careers. But today, I'm very thankful to have these 4 students who are rising juniors and seniors here at the College of Business, and they're going to share with us some of the impressions and experiences that they've had with you as our employer partners. So, first thing, we're going to get started by just having them each introduce themselves, and then I will ask a couple of questions to get our discussion started. But really, this is a time for you to be asking them questions. My colleague Bethany will be walking around with the microphone, and so be thinking of some questions as we get started that you can ask when it's time for the audience participation, okay? All right, let's go ahead and get started.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Wigger. I am a rising senior here at UNL, originally from Centennial, Colorado. I'm a marketing major, a part of the Center for Sales Excellence here, and I'm a biology minor, which I know is kind of weird, but it worked for me at the time. I'm involved in a couple areas around campus and just really became passionate about sales and the College of Business through all of those activities, and super excited to be here. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Jared Oney. I'm a rising senior. I'm from Aurora, Colorado, and I'm studying actuarial science. I'm involved in a lot of areas on campus, but mostly just with insurance. So I'm a part of GIS, which is Gamma Iota Sigma, which is an insurance business fraternity, and I also am involved with entrepreneurship, and so I'm in a part of Startups UNL, and yeah, that's a little bit of me.
Hello, my name is Arya Nayak. I'm a rising senior as well, an economics major with minors in environmental economics, fine arts, Clifton Builders Management, so I'm also a part of the Builders program, and math. Also involved in quite a few things like Mortarboard, the Business Honors Academy, things like that. And I'm interested in environmental economics, so right now I'm a renewable energy intern, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Natasha. I'm an economics major from Nairobi, Kenya, with a minor in business analytics and statistics. I am involved in a few different things in College of Business. I do also work here as a student worker. I am involved in a few student organizations around campus, in some leadership positions, but trying to step down. I'm a rising senior. I currently am working on some research projects in the economics department related to just women in STEM in general, economic, GDP. Sorry, I'll explain later if you ask. I'm interested in pursuing data science, which is why I have the whole combination of econ, statistics, and business analytics. Yep.
All right, thank you all so much. So I'm excited to hear what they have to share. So I'm going to start by asking, could each of you just share one story of a memorable interaction that you've had with an employer, one of our employer partners, while you've been here at the College of Business, whether it's through a class or some interactions that you've been able to have, and how that's impacted your career journeys?
Yeah, so I was in Marketing 257, which is taught by Chad Martinson here in the College of Business, and it is a marketing class that leads you into the Sales Center for Excellence. So a lot of the kids come from that class, apply, and are accepted to the Sales Center. He has a lot of guest speakers in. It's a great opportunity for students to connect with employers. And a lot of the time, students aren't really that engaged. I think a PowerPoint comes up on the screen, and you're like, oh, we're not really doing much today. We're just going to learn kind of about a local company. There's not a ton of engagement with the students. But Hemp Hill Search Group, they're based out of Omaha. They came in, and Dan, the owner, offered money as reward for questions. So the person that asked the most amount of questions got $100, second $50, and then third, I think, there were two $20 bills for a tie of third place. I'm pretty competitive by nature, so I think my hand was up a majority of the class, and I actually won the $100. So after the interview, I had friended him on LinkedIn, and then he said that he was interested in bringing me in for interviews for an internship position with them. So through that interaction, I think a lot of student engagement helped that whole coming into class and speaking about something, but I was really invested in kind of what he had talked about in their company culture, and so I went in for interviews, and that's where I've been as an internship this summer. So I think as employers, the biggest thing that you can bring is someone that's really willing to get to know their students in the class they're speaking to, and yeah, that was just my experience.
Yeah, so as a College of Business student, in actuarial science, I've had the opportunity to talk to many insurance companies, and I've got the opportunity to talk with Farmers Mutual. They've come in a lot of times, and they usually have this employer who comes in. His name is Chris, and he like gives a presentation of Farmers Mutual, and he always like mentions one thing, and it's like how he has hit his car has been hit by a deer, and like he's mentioned that like every time that I've seen him do like a presentation. And then recently, I've had an opportunity to look, I guess, have see them present again, Farmers Mutual. And Chris wasn't presenting this time. Instead, it was like two other employers, and like just they had like they were doing like a presentation, and they were like going on the presentation, and they mentioned something about like loss. And once they mentioned loss, I knew that they're gonna bring up the story with like Chris and him hitting the deer with his car. And so like just seeing that from employers, just like them being friendly and like knowing each other, and I guess how they interact has like inspired me to like, I guess, join that type of culture, just being in a culture where I can share experiences with others, and like I can laugh with them, and it's not just work. It's more than just work, and I can, yeah, that's basically.
One of my favorite interactions actually happened just right downstairs. We have an employer in residence usually every day except for Fridays. And one of the employers in residence really helped me with kind of bridging my two interests. I love business, I love economics, and I love learning about a lot of those things, but I'm also really passionate about environmentalism, and I feel like a lot of the time those two things don't really go hand in hand, and so it's kind of hard to see a career path that is driven with those two goals in mind. And this particular employer really helped me, showing that those two things are not mutually exclusive, but can actually combine and be a really growing career path. And they helped connect me to a bunch of different people throughout their company. And then, I kid you not, 2 weeks later, I was sitting next to one of them on a flight. So the full 3-hour flight, we were just talking about things, all because of the connection that I made downstairs. And I think that that was kind of like a big motivator in me actually taking a first step forward into doing environmental economics.
Mine wasn't necessarily a singular interaction. It was more of just like an opening up to an experience. So it was just, I had previously gone for different events that the economics department has for economics majors, to like meet different employers and like meet like the Federal Reserve and stuff like that. And then after one of them, I remember that Lori Miller sent me an email about a Women in Economics symposium that happens, I want to say, in the spring every now and again. And after she connected me to that, I attended this conference that had all these different like women in economics, a board of women, just talking about the different career paths and everything that you could like pursue when like thinking about economics. Because it's just, I had pretty much just like started, and I wasn't sure like where exactly I wanted to go, because it's just so broad and everything. So it's just being able to attend that conference kind of helped me realize that there's more to economics than just worrying about like the macroeconomics of it. I was able to just like be open to the idea of like data science is actually where I first decided to kind of just focus in on like the data science aspect of it and add like the statistics of it to my economics sort of. So it was kind of more just like a larger experience that just kind of opened me up to all these different like firms and places that I could work and show up just as an economics major.
All right, great stories, thank you. So next, I'm just going to ask one more question, and then we will start with our audience participation. So can any of you share an experience that you've had with the job application process? So these may be positives or challenges that you've experienced, whether you're applying for an internship or a full-time job. And just kind of share with our employers here what that was like for you, maybe what you'd like them to know about how you experienced that time.
Yeah, so I had applied for an internship with a pharmaceutical sales company. It was a great opportunity and really wanted to kind of get my hand in sales. The process was kind of dragged on pretty long though. I ended up getting to have that experience and it was a great experience. But it's hard as a student when you're kind of, okay, I'm gonna have an unpaid internship, I'm gonna sacrifice my time, and I'm really willing to do that to build my career. But at the end of the day, we're still students and need to make money and have other, you know, ways to make money that I maybe need to spend some time on as well. So as much as I appreciate a really thorough interview process to make sure it's a good fit, I think to be super respectful is, yes, you are all amazing employers and you have busy days and as much as we do too, and to respect that time frame I think is really sometimes a challenge in the interview process.
Many of the internships that I've heard about are mostly through organizations that I'm a part of. And sometimes like those companies that come in, they have like tours of like different areas that, that the company has. And recently I've done like a tour of an area, and after the tour, they just reached out to some of the students that attended, and they basically just like asked if like any of us are looking for an internship, and they respected our time, and they knew that we were students at the time, and like it was like sometime during the middle of the school year, and so like they made the process like super fast, and I got an internship like really soon. I heard from them really soon, and that was like the most memorable and like I guess the best experience when I had when it comes to like internships.
I feel like over my like 3 years, I've applied to so many jobs, and so I kind of like now kind of have like my little list of like things that I love and things that I hate. And so like things that I love is when the resume auto-populates into the fields. I love that. That's great. You know what I hate? I hate typing it all over again. I'm not doing it. So like it's like little things like that. One great experience I had was where it kind of just laid out everything. Like the job description kind of matched. You could see exactly what skills and what prior positions that an employer was looking for. And I think the worst thing during an applications process is you spend all the time like crafting a beautiful resume, crafting a beautiful cover letter, you are really excited, and then you get literally no response. I think that is probably like the worst thing that could come from the entire application process. But I would say I have more positive experiences than negative ones.
I would say my positive experiences would just be like, even if I'm not getting the job or even if I'm not gonna go work for that company, just making different connections throughout the interview process. Because as I'm trying to like apply for a job, I will try to reach out for somebody in the to somebody in the company to make that initial connection, to have that easier like entry into like some sort of an interview. So I guess that would be probably like my most positive thing, is just having those connections and having them like for later, you know, if I end up like there in the future or something, or just having that opportunity. Probably the most like probably negative experience for me is just like being an international student is when you're applying to different companies, you don't know whether or not they're gonna like accept you just because of that whole sponsorship thing that a lot of people just have. So it's just like for me, it's just going through, end up going as far as like writing the cover letter, having the resume, and like going to the like first interview and just like being told like, oh, sorry that you've like taken all this time to do all of that. We can't give you a job because you're an international student. So that's probably just for me my main like negative experience, is just like having to put in all that work to create different resumes for like different companies just to like alter them, and like having to rewrite different cover letters and just like not getting anywhere just because of the whole sponsorship barrier. Yep.
All right, thank you all. Okay, now it's your turn to ask some questions. Feel free to raise your hand and Bethany will bring the microphone to you.
Hi there. So I'm Courtney Gallahue with Talent Acquisition for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and we're all about our internships, possibility of it leading to a career when we bring someone on board. So my question for you guys is kind of just your mindset when you were looking for internships. Were you going in thinking, hey, I could grow a possible career from this, like joining this company in the internship, or were you thinking more job experience to get you set up for the career you ultimately want? I'm really interested in your thoughts at that.
Yeah, great question. So I am all about building connections, but I think that internships are such a unique opportunity to try out, hey, is this what I want to do? With that being said, if the company culture is a fit, I think that is a huge bonus to be like, yeah, I could really see myself working here. And I think successful students, they want that job experience. But if there's really room for growth in the company and the employer is really communicative of, hey, we really like what you do here, then I think that gives the students a little bit of security, knowing that there's like a mutual interest in potential placement after graduation. And so, yeah, I would say my mindset is definitely I want to work where I'm an intern at now. And that's not necessarily everyone's. I can't speak for the whole College of Business. And we all have different situations. I'm an out-of-state student. I don't know if I want to stay in Omaha for a long period of time. But I think that that is a majority of students that are really driven and really want to find somewhere to land that's a good employer and has a good culture that they can test out through an internship.
I think for me, I kind of see it as like, kind of on a yearly basis. Like I remember applying to my first internship, which I did not get, my freshman year because I was too young. But at that point in my life, I just wanted to know what I liked because my job experience was limited to working at Starbucks. So I just wanted to know what kind of office environment, what kind of tasks do I like to do, what department would I want to work in. And then now I want to be working for someone that I can carry a full-time job with. And since that process gets truncated, especially as I feel like a lot of you guys are looking for people who will stay after their internship, which probably isn't as conducive if you hire a freshman or sophomore student. But now I still feel like I haven't explored as many options in my internship to make like a full-fledged decision of, yes, I want to stay here because I like my internship a lot. But I really think that having options at the beginning and then narrowing it down later is kind of like the progression that a lot of students have like in their minds, but it doesn't actually come to fruition.
I would say for me, it's a bit of both, but it somewhat depends on the type of position I'm applying for. I do have that interest in just like data science and data analytics, but it's not the only like type of internships I'm applying to. So more so when I'm applying to like somewhat of like a sales or some type of marketing position, I think of it as more of like gaining broader experience in the business world as well with just like the possibility for growth in that company. Even though it's not my final goal with my career, it's just having that as just being able to have that experience because you never know what you're going to end up because it's, I'm still young, just I might not be a data scientist 5 years from now. So it's just having those, just like being able to apply to like different positions and having these different positions that will give you different types of experience in just different fields, just like helps you be able to just like work anywhere or just like move around and experience as much as you would like, I guess, in your career, inside and outside of your career. And just like more so with the positions with the data science and data analytics, mostly just looking for growth in companies that I feel like would be a place that I could grow and like carry on for a good long while and just, feel comfortable growing in.
All right, next question.
Hello, thank you for coming and educating us all first on you guys. I think that's a big thing for all of us. One thing obviously that's changed the last few years for all of us with COVID has been remote working. So I'm very curious to get your thoughts on if you prefer something that has options to be full-time in an office. Are you more attracted to the jobs that let you have a mixed schedule? Or do you want something that is full remote? Or do you have any preference? Some of you may not have any preference either way, but very curious because I know that's one thing we run into quite a bit for internships is that question. And, you know, obviously I think everyone in here could agree, we all worry a little if we lose out on potential really good candidates if we answer that in a way that doesn't fit what they're looking for.
Yeah, so my current internship, I have some availability for hybrid work. Otherwise, though, this whole summer, I've driven up to Omaha every single day, which is a lot of sacrifice on my end, but I think that shows how much I value my experience that I'm getting in Omaha. With that in mind, as school starts, I'm carrying an 18-credit schedule this fall. So I can only go up to Omaha 1 day a week, which doesn't leave me a lot of room to gain all of that valuable in-office experience that I would like. So during the school year, I think it is super valuable, especially location-wise. Now, if I was in Haymarket, I would be absolutely super pumped to go there every day that I had free time within my school schedule. But again, I think the biggest thing that employers can really do is value that, yes, we are driven and super excited to have this opportunity, but at the end of the day, we still are college students, and school does come first. And to have that availability of, oh, I have a test at 5 p.m. today, I need to work online for a couple hours in the morning, that would be really awesome and flexible. I think that's super valuable for employers to offer and at least have the conversation instead of, absolutely not, we're not doing any remote work, it's only in office. I think that really would kind of lessen the candidate pool.
One of the biggest things that I look for with internships is the culture and interacting with other interns and other employees at the company. And so I guess working in person is what my preferred way of internships, but I do agree that like with remote, is very convenient, especially with like students, because like we're also like we have classes and like sometimes we have to study for exams and a lot of things like that. Like for me, as an actual science student, I have to study for exams in class as well as like exams to get professionally like certified as an actuary. So it is very inconvenient to work, I guess, virtually, but I really like the in person because again, you get to interact with other interns and employees that work at the company.
I might be in the minority, but I love working remote. Like, I think working remote is wonderful, and usually when I look at job postings, I at least like to see some hybrid flexibility. For me personally, I just cannot focus in the office, like, because we have an open concept, and so there's a lot of hustle and bustle, a lot of talk, and so I really like to like hone in and work and like be in a little bit more of a private space. And so I really look for those opportunities where I can be hybrid, full remote. I love going into the office whenever there's fun events. I see my team at least once a month and go and do different events like that. So I do definitely feel like I'm a part of the company culture. However, I think working remote for me personally works better. Also, I always have like a weird schedule for school where it isn't like as cut and dry as I can come to the office on these days and I have class these days. It's usually kind of like piecing in a jigsaw puzzle as far as like when I can work. And so working remote just fits so much better because then I can just log in, get my stuff done, and then come back here, do my classes, and then go back and not really have to worry about having the whole commute and a lot of the different stuff like that. So personally, that is why remote for me is like my #1 option.
I would say I kind of prioritize the jobs that have the hybrid opportunity because I, for the most part, get kind of like hit a wall a lot faster if I'm just coming into the same office, seeing the same thing like every day. Because I'd like to have some sort of, I guess, change as much as you can in the workplace. So just having that opportunity to be able to switch from like working at home or maybe going to a library when on the day that I'm remote or going somewhere else to work or not just coming into the office every single day. And also just on the inverse of that, not consistently being at home, sitting on my computer, working remote for like 5 days straight a week, which is eventually just gets kind of boring or just, you know, you don't want to be in the house anymore. And, you know, so I just like having that freedom to be able to like, you know, switch and just have that difference to also just be able to come into the workplace, connect with like my coworkers, but also not being there so much that it's just like these are all the people that I see in a week. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we have an online question next.
Yes, we have Erica from Emeritus asking, where do you enjoy connecting with employers most? Career fairs, class club visits, etc.
I really enjoy connecting with employers at, I guess, club events because I'm involved in a lot of club events, and so I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of employers. And most of the time, it's like when there's other students with you, like 'cause like with clubs, like there's a ton of students, so like they can ask questions that you might have and that you might not be aware of. So that's why I enjoy, I guess, interacting with employers and club organizations.
I would probably say club organizations because I feel like they're, well, as personal as you can get. They're a little more personal than a career fair because I feel like in a career fair, it's more just like, oh, I'm just going to say my piece. And then like they still have other people that want to talk to them. So it feels kind of like rushed in a sense. But I feel like in those like more club or like class appearances, it's just there's more time for you to ask like more specific questions to like the employer and make more of a connection. Because I personally get more like LinkedIn connections and emails and cards and all of that at these like different club and class like appearances when companies come in for that.
I like the employer in residence downstairs. That is probably my favorite thing because it's a lot more casual and like it's basically a choice. You see them and then you can have a long conversation, have a short conversation. Usually for me, career fairs are just a little too formal and a little formulaic. Like, oh, they're gonna take your name and email and then they're gonna ask you like these set questions and then they're gonna give you a pamphlet and then you move on to the next one. Whereas I feel like downstairs, a lot of the times that I've had conversations there, they're a lot more organic and they're casual and they are actually kind of a little bit more than just the surface level, like name, major, hometown.
All right. Any other questions? Over here, Bethany.
Hey guys, my name's AJ. I do people development at Rent Vision. Wanted to touch back on Mackenzie's comment, and I'd love to hear from the rest of you as well about the thoroughness of a job interview process. Just curious where you stand on that. What do you expect? How long do you like it to be? What elements are you like, if you ask me to do this, I'm out. I'm not doing that. There's no way. What are your expectations on that?
Yeah, so my interview process for my current internship position is a little unique. So Hemphill is a search firm, so all we do all day is interview candidates and test them for certain intellectual things, or we learn about their strengths. Our interview process in general is very long. How I was interviewed, I think in total I was in an interview room for over 4 hours, which is 2 different interviews going up to Omaha. That was a lot, but I also was really, really committed. So I think it depends how invested that student is in what they're going to do. If it's a really specialized position and you're looking for seniors and juniors, I honestly would have gone through another 2-hour interview to get that internship. I really wanted it. And so I'm all about it because it gave me a really informal introduction with my employer, and I really got to know them. I actually was taken out to lunch in one of these interviews. It was just a very get to know you. We really value our team members. And again, it's a smaller firm, so I think that is more specialized. But again, there were a lot of hoops to jump through, and I think students in their later years in college are more willing to do that. With that being said, I think there is a huge respect of time and flexibility. Like, if you give me maybe 3 times during a day, I'm really sorry, I may not be able to make any of those 3 times in that day. So it is flexibility in scheduling and also an open discussion. I think you'll be able to read certain students that would be willing to take a big chunk out of their time to do an interview, especially if it's a position that they're really interested in.
I would second that. I feel like a lot of the times people are like, oh, I want my interview, like the interview process to not be super, super long. And like, I like that in the terms of I don't want to go through 5 interviews, but I do like it when they have some substance or like they're an hour long, because I've had an interview where it was 13 minutes long and I was like, you don't know me, like you know nothing out of this 13-minute interaction. And I would just, I appreciate it when those interviews are a lot longer and they can get a little bit more deep.
I would say probably the biggest thing that would just put me off in an interview is just if the interviewer starts straight away with the just tell me about yourself question. I understand that that is like an important question to try and get to know the person that you're interviewing, but for students, that's just like a really nerve-wracking question. And in some sense, I would prefer just if there were more like questions before that would help like the student just get a little more comfortable just to sort of just get used to the interview scenario, because not everybody is gonna immediately have like, oh, tell me about yourself, or everyone's just, if you start with a tell me about yourself question, everyone's just gonna start with a cookie cutter, this is my major, these are my interests, this is what I wanna do. So I would say maybe leaving that question somewhere either in the middle or just right about in the end. And I second what she said with the flexibility, just like understanding that as much as like you do have set times with when you would like to interview and like set little like sections of when you can, students are kind of like working on a strange schedule, because it's you could have time on this day and you just won't have time on that day, and it's just you might have to like squeeze the interview through to like a stressful day, and it's just you have a bunch of things back to back to back, and just being able to have that flexibility would help a lot, and just not having, I guess, yeah, just mostly just the flexibility with the interview and just the what are you like question is, yeah.
I also love the question, like, is there anything else that you didn't get to share? I've only gotten that question once at the very end of my interview, and I appreciate that question so much because I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of my examples can be a little bit redundant, and so I can just throw something a little bit more fresh in there to kind of show that I'm more multifaceted.
Sorry, I have one more thing to add. Also, this was probably the first chance that I had to sit down and have a really genuine interview, like something I would get post-grad. So I know it's a lot to ask of our employers, and thank you for taking your time to interview students, but to really give it your all in a sense of ask those good interview questions. It's okay to stump a student. It really, at the end of the day, is all for our benefit, and you might get some really cool answers out of that. And just to take that time and invest in students, I think they'll at least have a lasting impression of you and your company if you take that time.
Like a little, I guess, to add on to that point, because it's just like based, I guess the saying like the stump the students is kind of like maybe building like 1 or 2 questions based off of like every other question that you've asked in the interview, or probably like just building something on the spot that you feel like would showcase a lot of like what the student can bring to your team, not just in like the skills that they have, just kind of in like their personality and like what sort of talent. So having more of those questions that are not just like, what skills do you have? You know, what is this? Just like building more, I guess it is kind of a challenge, but just trying to build some more just like individual questions that show more of what the person can bring to your team.
All right, thank you. I think we have a question in the back.
Hi there, Tiff Sievers with SupportWorks in Papillion. And question for you, as you've had these internship experiences and you're looking at post-graduation employment, other than pay, what are you looking for in a company and opportunity? And I wrote just a couple of things down to just kind of jog your memory, but like growth and development, good relationships with people, the impact you'll make, interesting work, having a company who gives back or is, you know, works with environmental causes, for example, you mentioned. What are some top things that you're looking for in your next opportunity?
Yeah, so I would say I work in a really corporate setting right now, which a lot of students my age aren't necessarily looking for. Like everyone sees an open concept and fun games to play during breaks, and that like really sparks everyone's interest. I, on the other hand, am really prioritizing somewhere that I can allow my work to show, not just in compensation, but in growth within the company and getting I know I'm a hard worker, and so if a company really showcases that, yes, we reward people for their hard work, their success, and I think to speak with someone maybe that was in the similar place years ago, to have that, okay, here's a direct line of growth within your company, it's really shown, it's a proven track record, I think that shows a lot to me as a student of, oh, okay, this internship, I could take it and I could get hired and then I could grow within the company. So I would say growth is a huge one. And I would also just say a culture that really invests in their interns. I know that if I want to work with a company post-grad, I want to feel like I'm really part of that culture at the get-go, especially if I've interned there. So to really value your interns and respect, I think, is a huge thing. That's what I look for.
I really look for growth as well. A lot of the internships that I've done are like rotational internships, like that you're not working you're working in like different areas in the company. So like with like my insurance-based ones, like sometimes you're like doing coding, and then 3 weeks later you're doing predictive modeling, and then 3 weeks later you're doing pricing. And so like I really like those areas because those type of internships, because they allow me to know which areas that I am best at and which areas I like the most, and that can help me, I guess, choose what I want to do, I guess, moving forward, with graduation and looking for a specific type of jobs.
I think post-grad, I'm looking for like variety of work and just like making sure that I know what I'm doing is making a difference. I feel like a lot of the new corporate environments include a lot of fringe benefits, and personally, I know that a lot of people like them. Personally, I don't really care. I really want to make sure that what I'm doing is going to be appreciated, what I'm doing matters, and I get to have a nice amount of variety.
I would say sort of the same thing, just with the being appreciated, just looking for more of a company that is less of like, that encourages more like connection between employees and is not just trying to have employees to just be there for the product, just to like, you're only here to do your job, go, get out, you could talk to a few coworkers, whatever, and then you just have to go. But I would more likely look for companies that are just more likely to encourage some sort of like community within their workplaces. As much as I understand you do need to maintain some sort of a professional relationship at your workplace, there still needs to be some sort of community-based just interaction in these workplaces, because that I feel like encourages more like people to like put in their all if like you feel like you have a community depending on you and working with you to produce this, and it's not just like you have to do this task for this person so they can do this. And it's not even just like you're working together, it's just like you do this, they do that, and it's like just like a random little piece. It's just, it feels better when you're working with a community towards like a goal and stuff. So just more of a company culture that just encourages some sort of community in the workplace.
All right, one up here. Going back to the piece on fringe benefits. Would you wait for the microphone? Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Going back to the piece on benefits in general, that's a big piece of a job and an offer. So when you're considering accepting an offer post-graduation, do you have someone that you're able to talk about with actual like health insurance benefits? Because while companies might not be able to meet you on pay or vacation, they could have an awesome benefits package with a great 401k. Do you have people that you can talk to about that, or how do we as employers help educate you in that space? Because it's tough.
I would say, yeah, it's really tough. It's really scary to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to need health insurance. I'm pretty blind, so I'm going to need vision too. I think that it really, especially looking at people that are recent college grads, it is a little bit helpful on the employer side to help educate the people that you're giving offers to, your candidates. I really don't know anything about that. I should, especially now that I'm a senior, I really have to learn. But I would definitely say if you can, I'm gonna definitely take that into account. I just don't know what it all means. So if you're kind of there as I'm not going to handhold you when you get this job, but in this offer, this is what this looks like. This is your first real offer. I think it's helpful to have someone that's approachable that you can talk to about that. I guess I could always call my parents, but at a certain point, I don't want to call my parents anymore asking about that. So if you're just really willing with that offer and have a good relationship with the recruiter and the company, I think that makes a big impact on how we're going to understand that offer fully.
Consensus. All right. We have time for about 1 or 2 more questions. Anyone else have something else they'd like to ask? Oh. Sure. That is definitely something that we have as part of our 444 class, and continuing to develop so that students know those options and are able to just learn about that as part of their negotiation skills that they're building. So thanks for asking that. Chris, I think, oh, okay.
Just kind of going off what you guys just mentioned about benefits, what are the most important, or what attracts you most? What kind of benefits do employers offer that really you are attracted to?
A good 401k, like a really good 401k plan is like the first thing that I look for. Good health insurance obviously is the next thing that I'm gonna look for. And then in terms of like extra add-ons that I really enjoy, some benefits. I know my company right now offers free lunch, which is amazing. That is like a good like small benefit that I really enjoy. And another one that I really enjoy is there's like different programs to like, if you do certain things, you can get certain things back. Like it's all fitness related. And so just promoting health, not only inside the workplace, but also outside the workplace, I think that that's a great benefit to have.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that. So my current employer has some flexible, I guess for full-time employees, I'm an intern, so I don't get this, but unlimited PTO, which can be really dangerous if you don't have a great worker. But I don't really want to spend time out of the office, but it's really great to know that that is something that's offered if there's a family emergency and I need to be there in Colorado a bit longer, or what it may be. Your good employer or employees are not going to abuse that. So I think that's a great benefit. And then also, this might be silly, but I turned 21 recently, and my employer took us, the whole office, out for drinks. And it was like just so thoughtful. And so it may not be in your benefits package, but just to know that there are employee outings that can really build that culture, I think is a really great benefit that my employer offers.
My own son is a fairly recent college graduate, and I know getting used to the full-time 40 hours a week and having 1 or 2 weeks of vacation was a huge adjustment after being a college student, having so many breaks and summers to do as you wish. So I don't know if you've thought of that, but a little bit more time off is always appreciated too. So yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so is there one more burning question out there? Chris.
Sorry, I've been wanting to ask this question for a long time. So employers ask us, like, what's the swag, or what catches your attention at employer in residence or career fair booths? And I'd say, is there something you're like, no, I don't want that at all?
Yeah, this is a shout out to NRC Health if you're here. I got a tall boy koozie. So obviously not painting myself in the best light here, but I really appreciated it. And I don't want, no offense if this is in your swag packs, I'm really, those like plastic bracelets are really going out of style. So super cool if that's your thing, but it's not mine. So yeah, koozies.
I really like getting clothing, like shirts, t-shirts, because like sometimes I don't want to do laundry and I need a shirt to wear. But yeah, there's like not a lot that I dislike getting. I guess like pens, but I really like t-shirts.
I like kitchen supplies. So like, you know, those like silicone, like scrapers, love that. I got a pizza cutter from Nelnet my freshman year, still have it, still going strong. It also has a bottle opener on it, which is amazing. I don't like getting, this is probably an unpopular opinion, I don't like getting water bottles. I feel like I have too many water bottles, so I just don't need another one.
I do like getting water bottles because I feel like that's what I lose the most. That's kind of just a personal thing, but a good water bottle, that's great because, you know, you can never have too many water bottles, personally. But I also do love like a good little USB port because I feel like those always just like at random come in like so useful at just like the most random moments when your computers just like randomly run out of space. So I think I have like 3 or 4 of those. So, you know, keep those coming because I don't really want to keep buying those. So, yeah.
All right.
I had a suggestion.
Go for it.
I know this is like a dentist thing, but you guys should give toothbrushes. I feel like most of the time I'm like, I really need a toothbrush. And I feel like if I just had a drawer full of toothbrushes, I would love that. Not just for like brushing my teeth, but you know, like cleaning things. Like it's just so useful.
All right. Well, that was a great question to end our time with. Thank you, Chris. Very fun suggestion. So let's give our student panel a round of applause. Thanks to each of you for coming today and sharing all of that. Thank you for all your questions. We are now going to transition. A couple things that I'd like to let you know. The table surveys that you may have in front of you, if you have not filled those out yet, feel free to take them with you. If you have completed them, you can drop them off at the back table that you registered at. But our next section here, after a short break, is going to be 2 different breakouts that you're able to attend. I know Chris mentioned them at the beginning of the day, but the first one is creating effective internship experiences. Both of these rooms are going to be down around the hallway off to the, well, it's my left. So this one will be in 204, and then the second one is a listening session, understanding your preferences for application materials during the hiring process, and we'll be really interacting with you and understanding that. So that one's in 202, the other one is in 204. So both of them are down around the hall. We'll be starting those at about 10:45, so feel free to take a break, interact with the students. A couple of them are able to stay, but some have to get back to their internships. So thank you so much.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed lunch and some good conversation, either with each other or with our faculty and staff that have joined us today. I would like to take just a moment and thank our caterer, our folks from Yes Chef here for a great lunch, so thank you for that. And then also thanking our IT folks, our videographer folks that are here, our marketing department, our communications, marketing, external relations department. We also have our marketing faculty here too, but our marketing folks that have helped promote this particular event, then just our IT staff of making sure that technology has worked. So we couldn't pull off an event like this without just the great support of people within the college. It's my pleasure to introduce our dean, Dr. Kathy Farrell, who will share some remarks about what's going on here in the College of Business. I think from a standpoint of us in the Business Career Center, we're so grateful to have a dean who knows us, asks about us, and really likes being a part of this event to connect with you, our employers, and asks about our day. So very fortunate to be able to work these years with Dr. Kathy Farrell.
I had to change everything up because I didn't want to have to stand at the podium. So as Chris said, Kathy Farrell, Dean of the College. I've been in my role now about 6.5 years, which is kind of hard to believe, but I've been here at Nebraska for 30. Just celebrating my 30th anniversary. My husband and I got married 30 years ago. A week later, moved to Nebraska. So it's real easy to remember. But anyway, professor of finance, for those of you who don't know me, and a recovering accountant because I was in public accounting for 3 years on the audit side. So that's my background. And then I've been in administration since 2010. And I am very passionate about the Career Center because I was the fortunate associate dean that oversaw the establishment of having the Business Career Center within the College of Business. And I have some other amazing associate deans here with me today that I'd like to introduce. So here with me today is Rick Barrera, who's sitting right over here, Lori Miller, right here, and Aaron Crabtree. Thank you. Rick oversees, I always call him the Chief Operating Officer. I'm not sure that's technically a title in higher ed, but that's the one that I use because that's what he does. And also oversees our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Lori oversees undergraduate programs and curriculum. So if you have any questions in that space, she's your person. I just realized I was clicking my, I don't know where I am, so I was clicking through. I saw Lori look up at the screen. She's like, whoa, what's going on? Am I at the right spot now? Okay, the next slide says me. And then Aaron oversees our graduate programs as well as our executive education programs as well. So he's the one you're going to want to look for when we get to the end of my presentation because I have some updates in that space as well. So with that, what I wanted to talk about today is some of the leadership changes that are happening at the campus level, as well as some of the budget issues that you may be hearing about. Specifically, we have a new chancellor, Chancellor Rodney Bennett, and he has joined us now in mid-July, and we'll start really hitting the ground running 1st of August. We have a Dean's Retreat next week, so we're looking forward to learning a little bit more about his vision. And one of the things that he has to deal with right out of the box is the campus, and quite frankly, the system, the NU system, is facing a very significant budget deficit, which you probably have seen covered in the newspaper. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that, other than the fact that one of the things that we've done within the College of Business is really tried to position our programs in a way that we can, for example, leverage private funding to support a lot of what we do, as well as to be as efficient as we possibly can in terms of the delivery of our curriculum while maintaining a very high quality experience for our students. So we're really planning to continue to leverage on those things, and one of the ways we're doing that is through the Only in Nebraska campaign. Here, that is the campaign that's been running for the NU Foundation, and that is where we get our philanthropic support. So we launched this campaign in 2018, although we didn't launch it publicly until this past fall, so November of 2022. And the College of Business's goal is $148 million. So that's our goal, just the college. And we have raised about $65 million. Now that includes outright gifts that are immediately expendable. It also includes gifts that are through an endowment that may be pledged, for example. And it also includes planned giving. So on the right-hand side of the chart, you'll see kind of the composition of that giving. So of the $65 million, 24 of it's future dollars that we would be expecting, not necessarily current dollars. And then the donors come in the form of individuals, corporate, or foundation. And I brought this up, given that we have a lot of representatives of companies here. You do play a really significant role as it relates to a lot of the programming that we do in the college through your corporate philanthropy, whether that comes directly from the company or through a corporate foundation. And so 19 million of what we've raised to date during this campaign is through one of those two sources. So it's really critical. And those help provide student scholarships, access and opportunity, things like our inclusive business leaders through the Teaching and Learning Center, all kinds of programmatic support through our Center for Entrepreneurship, as well as supporting our faculty and staff. So who are we? We are the College of Business. We are Nebraska Business. But our underlying mission statement is together we drive discovery, create opportunity and empower individuals to lead the future of business. And we live by this every day. And I think what's really important here is the word together. Together, we. We are very much about community. That's who we are. And establishing that community amongst faculty, staff, students, employers, our employer partners, our alumni, our business community, that's really important to who we are. And so having you here today is a testament to the commitment that you have to us, but also that we have to you. We live by 5 guiding principles that start with a focus on the self and move to a focus on the greater good. And so our first guiding principle is to challenge yourself. So look inward, be inclusive, ask bold questions, then look to the future and ultimately make it matter. We believe that's who Nebraskans are. If you think about a lot of the Nebraskans in our community, they make it matter. They have an impact. They leave a legacy. And that's what we want ultimately our students to do as well. So what I want to do now is focus a little bit on some of the programming that we're doing within the college that has direct relationships to our employer partners. So one of the things that we've started doing is engaging through high school programs. And by that, what I mean is we've had some summer programs this year. Some are recurring, some are newer, to focus on opportunities for students post-high school. So we had Discover Accounting, Discover Actuarial Science. Both of those programs ran for about 3 days. Students came, stayed on campus, learned about what the opportunities are in those majors. So those are some of the more technical majors. But then we also have the Dream Big Academy. These kids are typically between their junior and senior year, and we look at the Dream Big Academy to focus on kids that are on free and reduced lunch, a lot higher representation of first-generation students, underrepresented minorities, but also students that just don't know what it would be like to go to college at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And so we give them an experience to come here, and we do a lot of programming with corporate partners. So for example, Discover Accounting went to Lutz. Okay, I think Discover Actuarial Science, I believe, had something with Assurity. And so the reality is there's opportunities in these programs to engage with prospective college students and help them understand what the opportunities are. We also are getting ready to open Standing Bear High School that is going to have a business-focused program as part of their curriculum available to students. So that's one of our newest initiatives. And we hosted some of the teachers here a few weeks ago, gave them lots of Nebraska swag. But we're really excited about that and see great opportunities for our corporate partners, again, to help better educate those high school kids about what the opportunities are in business. And finally, we started doing middle school days. So we actually bring, in the fall and in the spring, a bunch of middle schoolers and try to help them understand what different majors are all about and what it might be like to study business. And I always have to give a presentation and use words that I don't typically use, like I can't call faculty, I have to call them teachers, and things like that, because they don't, and I'm a principal, not a dean, because their language is a little bit different. So I usually get trained before I go to the middle school days. But it's been a great opportunity for us to really be thinking about our pipeline, and again, opportunities with our corporate partners. So one of the things that I think makes Nebraska a little bit different is the fact that we focus a lot on peer-to-peer. And what I mean by that is we leverage our students to help other students, because we believe that's how you build great leaders. Because leaders need to not only be able to lead, they need to be able to work in teams, they need to be able to mentor, they need to be able to coach. And so we try to provide opportunities here at Nebraska for our students to develop those types of skills, and at the same time, help lift up other students. And so some of the ways that we are doing that is first, our Clifton Strengths Institute. So many of you have probably heard about our, if you haven't, then we're not doing our job very well, but the Clifton Strengths Institute, that includes a class where our students, all of our freshmen, take an 8-week class as soon as they start here at Nebraska. If they haven't already done so, they take the assessment, the Clifton Strengths Assessment, and they learn their top 5 strengths. Well, then they are assigned to a coach, and each of our incoming freshmen has a 1-hour coaching session twice in that first 8 weeks. And so they're making a connection with an upperclassman immediately, and they're talking about what is their strength and how can they leverage it. And so it's really a very self-reflective course, but it also creates relationships for these kids. And that's really, really important. But we also have 80 strengths coaches that have taken a course to learn about how you coach around strengths, and then they go on and accumulate many hours of coaching. So each strength coach is assigned 10 students. So right out of the box, they're going to get at least 20 hours of coaching, right? But we've had students that have graduated with 100 hours of coaching. That's amazing if you are looking at going into a human resources field, for example. And so students' resumes are going to look a little different coming out of Nebraska because some of them are going to have coaching on their resume, and that's a pretty powerful thing for these students to develop. Similarly, we have a teaching and learning center, and within our teaching and learning center, we have instructional assistants and tutors. Instructional assistants are assigned to a specific class, and they actually go in and help the professor teaching that class. So by that, what I mean is they sit through all the lectures, and they've all taken the course already, so it's round 2 at least. So maybe it's microeconomics. And then they provide review sessions to students that are optional because they know exactly what the professor is covering. They might offer group tutoring sessions, okay? And then we also provide one-on-one tutoring to students that they can sign up for, and the college pays these students through philanthropic support. So the students are getting extremely valuable experience tutoring. What they learn is you learn better when you have to teach it, right? We had a former tutor who was studying for the CFA exam, so he tutored 3 finance classes. He said, I have to learn this stuff anyway, and I know I'm going to learn it a lot better if I have to tutor it. And so he started prepping for a CFA by being a tutor. Peer mentors, we have peer career coaches, so we train students to provide career coaching. And then we also have inclusive business leaders. So I mentioned the Inclusive Business Leaders program. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it because it's one of our newer cohort-based programs. We're going to have our 3rd cohort. It's actually the 4th time we've run it because we did a pilot program in the spring of 21, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. That was our pilot program, and then we had a cohort in 21, fall of 21, and then 2 cohorts, fall of 22. And what the program is about is, again, attracting students that often are first-time, first-generation students, again, free reduced lunch, so students that might not have as strong of a support system around them when they come to college and have additional challenges, such as financial challenges that they have to manage in addition to college. And so we're trying to build a better support system around these students such that they can be successful or have a higher probability of success. And one aspect of that is a mentorship program where I don't want to say attach, that's not the right word, pair them with an upperclassman as a mentor, and again, form a relationship that then can endure throughout that academic year. At the same time, we offer these students 2 $1,000 scholarships, but they get them after they complete each semester of the program. So it's a retention tool. You don't get the scholarship if you don't do all of the activities that are associated with the program. And the activity includes learning more about different career opportunities. Again, we have opportunities to partner with companies, invite the inclusive business leaders to tour your company to learn more about what you do. offer mentorships or job shadowing opportunities to help students explore what the possibilities might be. Other customized programs that we could brainstorm around. We did a case competition where some of our IBL students participated in. And then we also are looking for partners for course projects. So the IBL, we believe, has the potential to really make a difference. 49% of the 100 participants are first gens, 44% qualified for free or reduced lunch, and 65% are students of color. But what we're really proud of is the difference in the retention rates. So IBL students retained at 93.5% relative to the general UNL population of 81.5%. By retention, I mean retention from freshman to sophomore year. We don't have a lot of data yet to know what the long-term outcomes are going to be associated with this program, but that's what we plan to monitor to see how much success we can have here. Okay. Just monitoring my time. For academic, because I can talk forever about the College of Business, by the way, so I have to be careful. I have to monitor myself. Academic programs, reputation, distinctions, and updates. So many of you probably hear about rankings, so I always feel like I have to throw them up here just because, but I will always throw them up here with a caveat. So the University of Nebraska College of Business is ranked 31 among public institutions that the U.S. News tracks, and 51 overall. There's lots of schools that tie, by the way, because you can see right there just a few of the schools that we tied with at 51. Auburn, Clemson, Georgia State, Oregon, Texas, Dallas. So those are some of the schools that we tied with. But I always have to, do a shout out in our regional competition. We're ahead of Iowa State, Kansas, Missouri, Rutgers, TCU, and then Creighton and UNO. But I also want to caution you whenever you talk about rankings, you want to really look at the methodology. The U.S. News and World Report for undergraduate business programs is entirely reputational. And what that means is they send a survey to every institution, to the dean and one of the associate deans, and we literally rank 1 to 5. That's it. So I get a list that has, Lori and I sit down, we have a list that has hundreds of schools' names on it, 600 schools, some I've never heard of, and I'm supposed to put a number on it. And that's where that comes from. So take it for what it's worth. That said, we think we're better than 31. But anyway, at a glance, so a couple highlights about the college. We have 11 majors. Okay, so you have your standard business majors, marketing, management, finance, accounting, but we have a few others too. Actuarial science isn't always in business schools. Ours can be either business or arts and sciences. Economics, same thing, either business or arts and sciences, but all of the faculty are housed in the College of Business for both of those disciplines. We have supply chain. We have international business. And international business, I think sometimes people don't realize, that's students who want to work in a business that's global, okay, has a global footprint. That doesn't mean international students are international business majors necessarily. Could be, but not necessarily. So that's important to understand that major as well. And then our newest is business and law. And that's a really, really unique program that we partnered with the College of Law, where the College of Law are actually teaching 4 of the courses. So their faculty are actually teaching 4 of the classes. Programs of distinction, we have many. The Honors Academy, cohort-based program of high-achieving students with about 40 to 45 in each cohort. This program has been in existence, I think we're in the 11th class, if I'm not mistaken. And so we do have a little bit of a track record there that the students out of the academy tend to place at about $10,000 more than our other students in terms of starting salaries. So highly competitive group of students that are really pursuing some pretty high-level opportunities right out of the box. The Clifton Builders program is an entrepreneurial-based program. That's another cohort-based program that's run through the Clifton Strengths Institute. Our Center for Sales Excellence, students can earn a sales certificate. One of the things that's different here relative to other schools is ours is not a minor. You actually have to apply to pursue a certificate, and so it's more selective in nature to be able to get a certificate of sales. The Center for Entrepreneurship is extremely active in many different co-curricular activities, including the new venture competition where students compete, business plan competition. Most famous winner of that in the past was Huddle. And they also have other pitch competitions, 3-2-1 pitch competitions, and other activities as well. CFA program partner, our finance major has a CFA track. It's only one of about 40 programs in the country at the undergraduate level where our students are prepared to sit for level 1 exam at the end of their academic career here. And then we have the Center for Actuarial Excellence. We are only one of 12 that also has University Earned Credit program and in our Center for Actuarial Science. So a lot of great programs here that really prepare our students for the next step. So I wanted to give you just a couple quick updates with regards to what we're doing here. We're in the process. Lori Miller is leading a group of faculty who are looking at our core curriculum. And by that I mean a really in-depth dive into our core, and that includes our business foundation, which is your econ, accounting, and stat class, as well as the junior suite, which is your introductory marketing, finance, management, all of that. Looking at that core to make sure that we're providing the right foundation for our students. Do we need to tweak it? Do we need to think about any other content or revising the content that we have? And we hope to have that process done by spring such that we could implement by next fall. The business analytics major, we're in the process of growing that we're growing the minor into a major. It's currently in the higher ed vacuum. Higher administration is reviewing this. We have to go all the way to a state level coordinating commission to get this approved. But we hope to have this by spring of 24 on the books so that next fall students can declare that major. So that's our plan. We've started conversations about looking at a fully online undergraduate business degree, a business administration degree. This isn't that far along. And it may be something we don't do, but even if we do it, it would primarily be targeting students that are non-traditional. So it's not intended to compete with our residential program. So that would be the approach there. And I say that, and I wanted to bring it up here, because one question that we do get from prospective students, from employers, is how much of our curriculum are we still delivering online? And I would say we're being very strategic in what we deliver online. We deliver some of our business minor very heavily online, but that's non-business students. We have specific courses that lend themselves to online delivery, and so we offer those online. And sometimes we have online sections, like a section of a class, because then it helps the student if they have a scheduling issue. So we're very strategic with our online offerings at the undergraduate level because we are a residential campus with a residential experience, and that's our focus. So I'm going to take 5 minutes to talk about the MBA program. These rankings are a little bit more rigorous than the one I showed you at the undergraduate programs, because they actually have some other things beyond just reputation that influence these rankings. So of course we think these ones are better because the numbers are better too, but in all seriousness, our MBA program does rank very highly nationally and in the world. But one of the things I wanted to share with all of you is obviously you work for a company, that's why you're here. And we have a couple programs that are available to either alums or companies to participate in. So this one, the Talent Investment Program, is basically an agreement between us and specific companies or organizations where we enter into this agreement, and if you funnel students to us, we'll give you a predetermined discount rate on the tuition. And so the idea is it'll help us because we don't have to market and recruit. It'll help you because your students will get a reduced, your employees will get a reduced tuition rate. And so we want to work with you to set this type of program up. And so I mentioned Aaron Crabtree. He would be one of the people to connect with if it's something your company might be interested in. Some of you have preferred educational partners. We'd love to get on that list if you have one of those. And so please reach out to Aaron. We have 4 master's degrees, the MBA, MS in Supply Chain, MS in Business Analytics, and MS in Finance. And then we have 9 different certificate programs like Human Resources, Financial Analytics, Business Analytics, Marketing Analytics, lots of analytics. So please let us know. And then finally, for students who've graduated from UNL, UNK, or UNO, so any one of the systems, if you've graduated within the last 5 years and you had an overall GPA of at least 3.2, you're eligible for reduced tuition, independent of if your company partners with us, for either the MS in Business Analytics or MS in Supply Chain Management. One of the reasons you don't see the MBA up there is because our MBA on average has 8 years experience for students, and so we aren't going to market to people who don't have the work experience for this type of program. But if you have graduated in the last 5 years and you're interested in either of these specialized degrees, please look into this program and take advantage of it. Finally, executive and professional education opportunities. Our center is run by Emre Unlu, a professor of finance, under Aaron's leadership, and they have lots of opportunities available for corporate specialized professional opportunities, but then these are available all the time. Power lunches, getting ready to market those. Nonprofit Management Institute is something available to 3 certificate programs are available within that institute. And then Tax Institute is provided to accountants to update their taxes based on recent legislation every year. So those are resources available to all of you. We hope you'll take advantage of it. And I told Chris I would set some time aside to answer any questions that people have.
Why don't we have you just take the podium, I'll take the mic. Okay. That way I can go around and see if there's questions. I said that you asked really good questions earlier today. Any questions for Dr. Farrell?
I answered all of them.
I will point out in the Employer Partners Guide that you have is more information about the programs, those graduate programs and the graduate certificates too, because we do think it's a great way that you can expend a benefit to your employees.
Well, if nobody's going to ask me a question, I am going to share. I did a little research before I came up, so I need to share it, right, since I did the research. One of the things that I often share with the employers is the most common majors coming out of the college. And so I looked at our degrees conferred from 22, 23, and finance had 208, management had 191, marketing was 164, accounting 123, and business administration was 118. So that gives you an idea of kind of the student population when they're coming out of college to the workforce. The other majors are closer to the 50s, so your actuarial science, I think supply chain and econ both had in the mid-30s, same with international business this last year. The reason I tell you that is because if you look at enrollment data, like if we look at our student body over the last 4 years, like all 4 years, business administration is our largest major. But that's because a lot of our freshmen come in and they aren't sure what they want, so they start in business administration. But that's not the most common major that graduates. And it's not because it's a good or bad major, it's just kind of a catch-all for us. And it doesn't slow the students down in terms of progress towards degree. So if you look at enrollments across all of our students, business administration has almost 800 declared majors, and then finance is 680. But then when you look at the degrees, biz ad drops way down. So otherwise, they stay pretty consistent in terms of the order, in terms of enrollments. Since I did the research, I figured I had to share the data. Any questions? You're just excited about the awards, I think, Chris.
Must be. Well, thank you, Kathy. Guess I better find my pieces of paper so I know what I'm doing. I would like to take just a moment to, before we go into awards, to again recognize and thank the faculty and staff that have come here to help with our lunchtime. So in your program today, it mentioned those different faculty and staff. We appreciate just the Business Career Center. We're very fortunate to have faculty that come by and say hello, that send us emails, and we're glad to help connect you with those folks. I know some people had to step away, but if you are a faculty staff host, would you just stand up for a moment and be recognized? All right. I think I'm going to switch just to this mic. All right, so there we go. So the Business Career Center, for many years, has had the Employer Partners Day program. And we honor faculty and staff as well as employers for awards. So we have the Sue Vagts Faculty Staff Partner of the Year, and this award honors a faculty or staff colleague who's gone above and beyond their duties to collaborate with us, the Business Career Center, to build relationships with employers and enhance career development, education, and opportunities to help our College of Business students succeed. These faculty-staff partnerships help us succeed in the mission that we mentioned this morning to create confident, professional, and connected students for lifelong career success. So this award is named for Sue Vagts, who leads our actuarial science program and really started this high standard of collaboration with us. So we, again, we get the chance to award this, and we're especially pleased to award this to Dr. Lindsay Thompson this year. Lindsay, would you be willing to come on up? So Dr. Thompson has made exceptional contributions in providing multiple experiential learning opportunities, potential job opportunities, and mentorship connections for students. She has consistently gone above and beyond to create meaningful connections between employers and students, resulting in invaluable professional experiences and opportunities for personal growth. Through these partnerships, you have arranged various experiential learning opportunities for our students, including networking events, internships, field trips, job shadowing programs, and collaborative projects. These experiences have proven to be instrumental in helping students bridge the gap between theory and practice, allowing them to develop real-world skills and gain firsthand knowledge of their respective fields. So we are very glad to be able to work with you and to present this to you. Kathy, would you also be willing to come on it?
Very good at keeping secrets.
We are very good at keeping secrets. And yes. Thanks. Thank you. So we have to say there that that we're like, Lindsay, would you be willing to be a table host? And she's like, oh yeah, just says her personality. Yes, I'd be glad to help. Just tell me what I need to do. And then we've kind of positioned her team throughout here as well to see her receive the awards. So again, appreciate your contributions. So we also present an Employer of the Year, and this is, the College of Business has a number of different awards for employers. This particular award, though, represents the employers who work closely with us. Again, an organization who's gone above and beyond to collaborate with the Business Career Center in their commitment to students' career development at the College of Business through job and internship, recruitment programs, career events, involvement in our professional enhancement program courses, and any additional efforts through the last year. We are pleased to present the award this year to our friends at Assurity. So if Assurity folks can come on forward. So they're a committed corporate business partner with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln College of Business and the Center for Sales Excellence. They actively support alumni and students through internships, full-time job opportunities, class presentations, hosting on-site groups and tours, providing leadership, participation in finance, actuarial, and Center for Excellence advisory boards, and financial contributions. A few specific highlights: every academic year they hire intern students for sales, human resources, and actuarial science. Additional interns for IT, marketing, and investments have been at Assurity in previous years. They attend our BSAD 222 class and 333 class to help students with their professional goals and skills. They present in various classes, regularly attend employer and residence, career and internship fairs, the actual science career fairs. We see a lot of our good friends with Assurity. In 2023, they supported the first Discover Actuarial Science Camp this year with donations as well as hosting a corporate visit. So we really appreciate working with you all. It's always fun to be able to recognize some folks, even if you were not an award winner, please know how much we appreciate all that you do for our College of Business students. We are we're a little bit ahead of time, so we'll probably get started, maybe kind of pushing this forward about 10 minutes or so. We are now moving into kind of our final breakout sessions of the day. That 1:30 to 2:15, let's say 1:20 to 2:05-ish time is just a chance to network with enrollment management. Kendra is back there to give you more of a sense of what we're doing around prospective student programming, what's happening with admissions across campus. And then we'll have a different session, as we talked about this morning, kind of a facilitated recruiter session, a chance for you to talk to other recruiters about things that are of interest to you. After that, there'll be an opportunity to meet with Courtney Strayer of our University Career Services to learn more about Handshake, or get a tour of Hawks Hall that, again, we've opened now 6 years ago. Some of our faculty and staff are still here as well after lunch, so if you also wanted to try and catch somebody, I encourage you to do that. But we appreciate so much you being there. We will not come back as a big group session again, so if I don't see you or if our team doesn't see you elsewhere, we look forward to seeing you on campus in different ways this upcoming year. So again, we'll take about 10-ish minutes before those next sessions go, but again, thank you so much.